So this year, 2022,
living in everyday wonder.
Everyday wonder.
Wonder says we know what it was like that time.
Be amazed and in awe.
What individually makes us wonder?
We don't know what it would be like the next time.
Everything.
Just be totally swept away.
My mind lit up.
Reclaiming some of that sense of wonder. Hey there, I'm Reverend Dan. We are Soul Evolution Collaborative, and this is Truth Be Told, our weekly Tuesday evening live stream video event extravaganza. I don't know, whatever we're going to call it, but yeah, it seems like a pretty big deal. So it is, I think you've known by now, it's 2022, so it's a new year, not only a new month, but a whole new year. That means a whole new theme, and this year, we are looking at wonder, living everyday wonder. And what does that mean? And I have to be honest, wonder is kind of a new and exciting word for me. So I'm really looking forward to what this means. I'm looking forward to bringing more of our inspired messaging to you. And tonight's going to be a little great because it is our, after last week's technical foray / debacle, whatever happened then, this is our official episode 60, and we are essentially just going to dive into what wonder means to us. How does wonder show up? What does wonder look like? And it's kind of cool because wonder really is not a word that shows up a whole lot within Science of Mind, within New Thoughts. So we had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I think everybody did. We haven't talked about it a whole lot yet, but I had a lot of fun. And I am going to speak for the rest of the team and say we all had a lot of fun diving into wonder, what wonder means to us. And so sit back, relax, and enjoy Truth Be Told.
So this year, 2022, as we dive into this subject about talking of everyday wonder and looking into this week in particular, where the three of us just decided to talk about what individually makes us wonder, my mind lit up because what makes me wonder is everything. Mainly the perfection of the universe, the way that it is constructed, the way that it works, the way that it flows. It is absolutely mind-boggling to me. And I want to get to what this does for me as I allow myself time to wonder and contemplate it at the end of this. But first, I just want to talk a little bit about the divine perfection that exists in all nature. Have you ever looked at pictures of river tributaries and how they all kind of contribute to the main rivers? I'm going to put some images up. Check this out. So this is how the rivers flow, and it's very similar to how trees reach out with their branches to get their nutrients, to get what they need out of the atmosphere. Very similar to how our body distributes what it needs through the blood capillaries and systems in our body. Very similar to how thoughts and electricity flows through our neural pathways and how brain cells are formed. It is really perfect. When we look at it, we can see exactly how this design was absolutely the most efficient use and method to get stuff everywhere. And it's not uniform. It's not like perfect in the sense of perfectly organized, but it's perfect in its the most efficient use. It's perfect in its imperfections. So this idea blows my mind, the way that nature is constructed. And it's not like there is some intelligent being that sat down at a desk and said, I'm going to design nerve cells like this. I'm going to design honeycombs to be in the shape of hexagons in order to have a maximum strength and use of space. It wasn't one mind sitting down and doing this. This is nature. And what this means to me is that nature is infused with an intelligence so perfect, so beyond anything that I can imagine, that it's amazing that we're a part of it. And it is infused everywhere. This points us to the idea that we mention a lot. We are all one. Everything is one. It is just this divine thing that shows up in absolute perfection. Looking at ideas, if you haven't seen any of this, you gotta look it up. Sacred geometry, the Fibonacci sequence, how these things show up in nature. It can take you down a rabbit hole, and really it blows my mind. And now when I want to talk about what this does for me is when I contemplate these things and really put some effort and just open to it without trying to judge or label, just opening to it, it creates a mental state, a deeper state of consciousness, a meditative state, if you will, which leads more to like, look at the geniuses of our time, or elite athletes, people that get in these flow states. Flow, it's that same thing when we look at the river tributaries, the way that they flow in a perfectly natural way to all combine into that one major flow. It's similar with ideas, with inspiration, with just divine expression. It shows up all throughout nature. Everybody is contributing. We all require or acquire inspiration from those around us in different ways and different things. And it shows up every now and then in some individuals so divinely perfect that it's mind-boggling. And when you hear like elite athletes talk about being in the flow state, they say it's just something flowing through them. They're just a channel. They open up and they're not thinking. They're just allowing it to happen. And they'll also tell you that as soon as they catch themselves like thinking about the next step, just like that, they stop that flow state. They'll still be pretty great and they can get back into it, but that flow state is just being open to the most efficient way that this energy and consciousness goes through everything that is. Truly mind-boggling. So for me, contemplating these things, opening up to divine state, this is how we receive our inspiration. The mystics that get their information from others before them, through other great thinkers, and getting into that state, the ideas pop into the mind. So when they say in life, it's easiest if you learn to go with the flow. There's truth to that. This is a deep and amazing universe, and the more that you become curious and open up about it, the more in flow with that divine, or for lack of a better word, because I know some people don't resonate with divine, but it is just a perfection of nature that is beyond contemplation, that is beyond understanding. But the more that we try, the closer we get to it.
So I'm a little upset that my name wasn't on the genius list.
I was expecting to see it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, I was like, wait, we need to rewind that.
Little biased, but I decided to leave it off.
Yeah, you had to really narrow it down. There was only so much time, you know.
It's kind of a given though, too. Like everybody already knows.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know,
those images though were like,
yeah,
wow, and how it just got me thinking of how often that kind of thing shows up. Like this blueprint of an idea shows up over here in nature, and over here in nature, and here in nature in our body, and here in, I mean, just all over the place. It's like, whoa, yeah, wow.
What stood out for me was that connection between wonder and openness, because I think that they kind of go hand in hand. Like this being open to, this being able to expand our view or expand our way of seeing things or doing things or moving about the world. It's like when we can be open to that, then we can really, all these things that we see in the world kind of pop out to us as wonder. Maybe things that we maybe had not been looking at or open to in the past. So I like that kind of connection. That kind of goes hand in hand, being able to be open to that and then actually seeing the wonder in everything.
Yeah. And there is something about seeing images of nature that kind of immediately brings me to that. I don't know if this is universal, but I think it might be, or at least true for a lot of people. Just being in that, I mean, you don't even have to be there, just seeing the image of nature, these profound, huge images or really zoomed in images, right? It like automatically puts me in that place of awe. And there's this wonder that goes along with it. That's like, wow, we're a part of that. Whatever made all this, Yeah, it is pretty wonderful, full of wonder. That means a whole new brings on a whole new definition of that word too, for sure.
Yeah.
Wonderful, full of wonder.
It is really cool. I was going to put a link in the quote here for a clip from Nova on PBS about the Fibonacci and pi, the number pi, which is really cool. But one other thing, like you said, of looking at nature, NASA has a really cool animation of planet Earth, and it shows the polar ice caps and how like it simulates over years of the melting and then the thawing and then the refreezing. And it looks just like breathing when you watch it. And again, it's just one of those, like, it looks exactly like somebody breathing. I mean, and that's, over the cycle of several years, like each year is like a breath, which, kind of takes us back to like Hinduism and, breathing out the universe and back in all over and over. And yeah, it's just pretty cool what's going on out there.
Yeah, talk about scope and perspective, right? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Wonder is such an important yet easily overlooked word. I think one maybe that even in our culture is often looked at as maybe childish. We should outgrow wonder and become an adult in our educated ways of being. We don't have to wonder because we know. Wonder has such childlike attributes and tendencies towards it, and yet I think we would all probably benefit from retaining, reclaiming some of that sense of wonder. I think wonder plays out in a lot of different ways, and you see, when we no longer wonder, usually it's because we know. We have educated ourselves on something. We don't have to wonder. We know what it is. Oh, I wonder what that would be like. Well, I know what that is like. Or I wonder what the answer is. I know what the answer is. Because of that, I think we so often look at people who wonder a lot as unintelligent, uneducated, childlike. To retain or even reclaim a sense of wonder in our lives seems to open up a lot of pathways, a lot of doorways, a lot of ways of being that remove us from this feeling of being stuck or from falling into certain ruts in life where it's just this mindless repetition. That wonder, I wonder what life would be if I didn't have to be in this rut. I wonder what life would be if we weren't in this repetitive work mode or whatever it is in your life. That wonder, all of a sudden, if we don't have to do the same thing all the time, we don't have to do it the way it was done before, we can wonder ourselves into a new way of being. And so the issue that arises when we lose our wonder is this sense of knowing, which is kind of ironic because wondering stems from a desire to know. I wonder what that would be like. I would like to know what that would be like. And yet, the times when we find out, whatever that question is, whatever the wonder is referring to, whenever we find out, we have a tendency to arrive at this state of knowing. Instead of living in the wonder, instead of appreciating the wonder itself, we arrive at this place of, oh, I've had that experience. Now I know what that's like. I don't wonder anymore. Now I know what it's like to have had this experience. And so now, this happens all the time. Now that I no longer wonder because now I know, well, now I have to be right. And we certainly see this idea showing up all over the place, that this is my stance on something and I need to be right about it. We see it in our intimate relationships. We see it in work relationships. We see it in conversations around politics, where whatever our stance is the right stance, because we haven't been indoctrinated into a way of thinking that encourages wonder. We have been domesticated. I love that word. We've been domesticated into this way of being that looks down on wonder. And you are supposed to know what your opinion is, and you are supposed to know X, Y, and Z, all of the details about whatever that is. And your opinion's not valid if you don't. bringing wonder and opinion both into the same conversation leaves a whole lot of room for, let's actually just have open conversation without having to prove that what we say is right. Our opinion can just be our opinion, and we can still wonder what the other perspectives on that conversation might be. Wonder says we know what it was like that time. We don't know what it would be like the next time. I wonder what it would be like the next time. And that's a really different state of mind than I went skydiving and now I know what it's like. So wonder leaves us in this open and free mindset where we don't need to be right. We don't need to know, where we can create space for new ways, for shifting ideas, for shifting paradigms to show up and be at play in our lives.
You know what immediately came to mind when you were talking? It just popped in my head, this idea of, well, I'll just speak for myself, this discomfort in not knowing. Like I have to, and sometimes wonder is sitting in that discomfort. Like you said, it's not about, we're in this mode of knowing. And so when we were seeking to like control or know, and we've got to know everything, we've got to have the right answer, we've got to do the right next thing, all this sort of thing, then it does kind of, I don't know, kind of cramp out wonder. It kind of smashes wonder into the corner, you know, and because I think, for me at least, I don't like not knowing. I don't like not knowing what the next step is, or I don't like not knowing what the next answer is, or what's going to be, what's going to happen tomorrow and the next day, or 10 years from now. And I think sometimes I tend to act from fear, and so I want to say, oh no, we don't go with this wonder thing. We got to know, and so then I hold on to answers, and they may not even be the ones that are serving me, or the things that aren't serving me, and so I hold on to those. But then I miss out on that wonder piece. So I know we talked about this a lot, but it seems like wonder is a little bit of like sitting in the discomfort of not knowing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just struck me.
Well, and I think we have this cultural, like unspoken agreement that, that the discomfort is bad and that you are supposed to know. You shouldn't wonder about stuff because you are supposed to have a plan and hit all these milestones and X, Y, and Z. And I think that idea, that concept has kind of just dug its roots so deep that, look at the last year or so and any conversation that you've been involved with where politics has come up.
Yeah.
And it's just so clear, like you're either this opinion or this opinion, and that's it. And there's no in between. There's nothing on the periphery of that. This is your opinion and this, right. And so opinion kind of turns into fact. But, imagine if we could go into those conversations where, like, I don't need to prove my opinion to anyone. It doesn't, just because I'm not needing to prove my opinion doesn't mean I think their opinion's right. Right. Like if we remove ourselves from that right or wrong game,
Right.
Then all of a sudden, me trying to prove my opinion right has never changed anybody else's mind.
Right.
Right. So I'm just going to show up curious, or I hope I'm going to try at least to show up, and wonder what is that like? Where does that stem from? What is behind that? How did we get here? And yeah, that's uncomfortable as hell. But I think it's like this massive unlearning. We have been domesticated into knowledge is power, and it is. But it doesn't end with I've gained knowledge, I'm complete.
I want to comment something completely off of that. So when you first started talking, you were talking about like wonder and like children, how they're like naturally, like have this just like, and it brought to mind a Bible quote, and I'm going to put it in the chat now. Truly, I say to you, unless you become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of God. wonder. I mean, when we open up and just we don't know everything and admit it, and open up to it, kind of like what I talked about in that first segment. Like when I allow myself to dive into that wonder, like my consciousness, what's allowed in, just expands and opens up. And what is the kingdom of heaven except within? And so becoming like children to open up to the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah,
that's where you took me at the very beginning, and then of course it went other places later.
Not every day we inspire Bible quotes.
I know, it's a new one. That's the first time I think we've ever put one on here. So
yeah, it's a new year. What can I say?
It's one I hear on one of my favorite podcasts I used to listen to a lot. He shares it a lot.
That's a good one. I like that.
It's all about wonder. Yep.
Everyone else cherry picks from the Bible. Why can't we? I like that's a good one.
So thanks for being here tonight. Truth be told is one of our favorite things to do. It's how we kind of get out, new concepts, new ideas. So thanks for being here. If you like it, please, by all means, share it with your friends. Click like and subscribe, all that stuff. We're just trying to get concepts and ideas out there, things that we feel like has made our life more meaningful, sharing it with the world. Other ways to get involved with us, go to our site, soulevolutioncollaborative.org. Wonderful stuff on there. We have some perennial content that you can open up your mind a little bit more about the science of mind and ancient philosophies that combined for that. And you can get involved with us. Come participate on Thursday night at the gathering. You can sign up for that on our website. You'll get a link to join us in Zoom, where we dive into the subject of the week, all of us individually, whoever's there to participate, as much or as little as you like to. But we just share from our own personal perspectives. And it's really a deepening time that we come together in virtual community to share these ideas. Also look for us on Sundays on Facebook and YouTube Live at 12:30 Eastern Time. We do Stripped Down Sunday, where we unchurch your church experience. You just get the Sunday message and that's it. Bam, you're done. Go on with your day and enjoy it. And just keep your eyes out for us, because we're always introducing new things, and we'd love to have you along for the journey. All right, let's get back to our episode of Truth Be Told.
When I think about this idea of living in everyday wonder, I think about it, it's so easy for me to step out on a mountain range and just be amazed and in awe of nature. It's easy for me to step into a river and just be totally swept away by the beauty of the moment. And those peak experiences of wonder, they're so easy for me to identify in my life, and really easy for me to step into that space of wonder and awe in that experience. But what I've got to thinking about is that oftentimes I've lived my life from one peak experience to the next and to the next. And so I wonder what it would be like. And so this is kind of my passion for today and for all the days that follow this year, is to really really dive into what does it feel like? What would it be like? How would my life look if every day, every little supposed mundane experience of my day, I could meet with that same feeling of wonder, that same tickle of curiosity, that same thing that just kind of opens our minds, expands our awareness and our experience. What if I could approach each and every day like that? That I don't have to wait for the beach sunset or sunrise, which those are beautiful, but I don't have to wait for those moments to really sink in to that experience, that soul experience, that depth of wonder and amazement and gratitude and love and joy, and all those feelings that we feel in those moments. So how can we do this? How can we cultivate this feeling each and every day? And that doesn't mean that each and every day things are going to go our way, or that things are going to be super happy all the time or super wonderful. Life is just the culmination of a bunch of different experiences. The highs, the lows, the challenges, the joy, the tears, all of those things. And so instead, for me, instead of labeling one experience or expression or emotion as this wonder, amaze sort of feeling, what if each and every experience was a part of that wonder? What if I could step back a little bit from my life and look and see how each and every experience contributes to the whole of this life, and the whole of this life is wonder, is this amazement that the same thing that spins us around in orbit, the same thing that that grows the trees and the plants and the flowers, the same thing, the same energy, the same force, that same one thing that's always going on is the same thing that gives me life. And so when I can see that, I can see my connection, I can see that each and every day when I put one foot in front of the other, it's an opportunity to participate in that connection, to participate in the oneness, the wholeness of our experience of life. And so when I can do that, then I can see these little experiences as wonder. I can just be amazed at my life. I can be amazed at the individuals that are in my life. I can be amazed at my opportunity to serve others in my life. I can be amazed even by the littlest things that may happen in my experience. And so wonder for me is being able to step back and see it all. And when I do that, my mind is blown.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
Yep. And of course, we are back to wholeness once again.
Can't get away from it, damn it.
What else? What else is there to talk about?
No. It's like that idea kind of grabs you by the ankles as we turn around the corner. It's always there, that understanding of wholeness. I think that's like the key to everything.
Yeah, right. And it was an interesting thing to think about. Like I said in the beginning of your segment, pretty much like wonder on the large scale. It's really easy to, when you see something that is so awe-inspiring, it's really easy to step into wonder. But are we capable of stepping into wonder in those like tiny moments? In those like small everyday moments that maybe aren't so wonderful, right? Like, is it not full of wonder because I've created some story about it? Is it not full of wonder because maybe it really sucks? But can we bring wonder to that moment? Like, can we approach that moment with wonder? And how does that, how would that change your moment to moment, your daily, day-to-day experience? It's like, oh, that's damn.
Well, and it kind of goes back to what your segment was talking about, like approaching things with wonder, like this curiosity, these asking questions, this, and I think that when we do that, we get less attached to the experience, what's in front of us. Like for the first time ever in my 45 years, I had my car towed. I've never had my car towed in my whole life. But and that was a really crappy experience to go out and there's no car. But in those experiences where that's unpleasant, wish that hadn't happened. But can we ask questions? Can we be inquisitive? Can we what is this teaching me? What is this guy? Obviously that's a really blown out of proportion sort of example, but that's what I'm saying, those things, can we approach each and when we do that, then we remove ourselves from the effect of the scenario, and then we can step back and kind of, I don't know, look at it differently. And I think that's what you were talking about, approaching those experiences with that wonder, that questioning mind.
Yeah, maybe it's time we bring back conversation about cause and effect.
Ah, yes, cause and effect.
Yeah, when you just said effect like that, I was like, oh yeah, cause and effect. That's like the whole game, right? Yeah. And wonder does kind of bring us back to that realm of cause.
Yeah.
rather than being in the conversation in the world of effect. The what happens because, like, thought, for anyone new to the idea, thought is cause, right? And then effect is how the world shows up in front of us. That form always follows thought. We have a thought and it manifests as whatever the experience of that thought is. And yeah, wonder certainly is the key. Back to I got talked about it a little bit on Sunday. I guess I hadn't put those words quite to it, but wonder is the key back to the realm of cause.
And it's super easy to talk about effect. I mean, that's like super easy, and we love to do that stuff. I mean, we could just talk about effect like all the time.
Yeah.
But then the challenge is like, all right, let's get our heads out of our asses a little bit. And let's kind of talk about cause. And I think that's what I think that's what this is.
When you got to wonder, I mean, I wonder. I don't know if you have to or not, but do we ruminate in that realm of effect so much just because that's what we see all over and that's what we're taught? Or like, is there, I mean, would we spend just as much time in the land of causation if that's what we grew up with, right? If we just had that conversation around us all the time, would our inclination be to go there instead, rather than, the default seems to be into this conversation around effect? Can we retrain ourselves to do the opposite?
Yeah. Really, so much with wonder, the idea of, Rev Ryan was the one that really hammered this home for me in the last several months, was, like when something's happening, like, okay, so let's just become curious. What's this telling me? What's this about? Become curious. And, when I'm feeling it and I'm in the thick of the muck, I'm like, damn you, Rev Ryan.
But I feel my ears burning.
Yeah. What is that?
But, or I shouldn't say but, I should say and, in the experience of mindfulness, like when I'm experiencing something unpleasant and I remind myself, like, okay, let's not judge it right now. Let's just sit back and observe it. Just observe. Like physical pain is one of the best examples of this. If you're experiencing physical pain, just practicing mindful awareness. Like, okay, I'm just going to describe it in my mind. Does it have a shape? Does it have a color? What does it, feel like? Is it a throb? Is it a constant, or is it like a needle? Just observing with an open mind, just to, like, without labeling, without judging, and just saying, this is what the pain is. And just that awareness reduces the discomfort considerably, at least in my experience. Maybe not for everybody, but it's powerful.
I can actually take that a step further. Back when, a bunch of years ago, back when I was in practitioner studies, there was someone who had just licensed as a practitioner, and we were in conversation one day, and somehow it came up. They found themselves, they had just grabbed a tray out of the oven, hot tray out of the hot oven, and they just found themselves going, no, no. And they put the tray down, and there was no marks, no pain, nothing. And they showed me their hand. I was like, now, I don't know if that happened or not, but it stuck with me. And there have been a number of times where that very thing has happened to me. And when my immediate thought is, no, not doing this. I swear to you, no pain, nothing. The one or two times that it's happened where my first thought is not that, and my first thought is like, oh crap, or oh my God, blisters and the whole thing, right? It's like, whoa, how much does our thought really influence our body, our actual literal experience, our sensations, our physiology, like the whole thing, right? That, like, oh yeah, that doesn't have to, I mean, it's just a whole other experience from what we are told. You touch a hot thing, burn your hand.
We're not advocating we grab hot trays.
No, we're not.
Everyone knows.
Yeah. But it really is amazing. Like, we do have that influence. Mm-hmm. I don't know how we got here from wonder, but this other story real quick comes to mind where, like, there have been at least twice where I have been driving and gotten cut off where there was not enough space for my car to fit in between the curb and the car that cut me off, and nothing got hit. I don't know how. I mean, it's just like, it was like the world is bending around this right now. Like literally like it just, the car went something out of Harry Potter or something, right? I don't know how it happened, but it's like, you have those moments, you're like, did that really just happen? Like, is that actually what the hell? You know, it's like, this is the glitch in the matrix. Like, this is not how this physical world works, you know? But man, I you know, when we consciously invoke that, like, this thought is creating this reality right now, because I'm not giving it another option. Yeah. So I don't know how we got here from wonder, but this is good.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun year.
Yeah.
For sure. I think we're ready to wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
All
Thanks,
right.
y'all.
So thanks for spending some quality time with us. As you can tell, we have a lot of fun and we have the absolute most amazing job in the world. And so if you would like to explore this topic further, like we're talking about wonder, please join us on Thursday nights for The Gathering. You can find all that information on soulevolutioncollaborative.org. You can sign up for The Gathering and you'll get an email with a link. It's just a great opportunity for us to come together and see each other's faces and really talk more about these topics and can share from our own experiences, because we know that when we do that in community, we learn so much, not only about ourselves, but about each other and how we can support each other in this journey we call life. So the Soul Evolution Collaborative is supported and made possible by folks like you. And so if you would like to help financially support this ministry and the message that we're bringing to the world, go to soulevolutioncollaborative.org and you can click on the donate button. All donations are tax deductible and, as always, greatly appreciated. And so to stay up to date on everything that is SEC, go to soulevolutioncollaborative.org and sign up for our email list. You'll receive blogs, event reminders, all sorts of fun stuff to help you get more involved in this community. So we'll see some of you on Thursday at The Gathering, and for everyone else, we'll see you next week.